He called his pregnant wife weak. By sunrise, her wedding ring was lying on his pillow and she was gone. Cole Harrington ruled Boston's underworld with a quiet voice and blood on his hands. Men feared him. Politicians smiled for him. But inside his glass penthouse, the one woman who loved him was breaking in silence. Maya had spent months hiding doctors' reports, unanswered calls, and a secret that could change everything. One cruel sentence at a crowded gala became the final wound. This is not just a story about a mafia boss losing his wife. It is about pride control, regret, and the moment a powerful man realizes love cannot be commanded. Watch until the end, because some apologies come too late, but some choices can still save a life. Like this video and comment where you're watching from. The kingdom that broke her. Before the ring on the pillow. Before the letter. Before Cole Harrington stood barefoot in the dark, with his whole life slipping through his fingers, there had been a city that bowed when he entered, and a wife who slowly learned how to disappear while standing right beside him. Boston belonged to Cole in ways no courthouse record would ever admit. By daylight, his name lived on charity plaques, hospital wings, construction permits, shipping contracts, and polished brass doors downtown. Harrington Logistics moved cargo through the harbor. Harrington Security protected luxury buildings, private clubs, campaign offices, and men who never wanted their names written down. Harrington Holdings owned restaurants, warehouses, parking structures, and enough quiet property to make half the city nervous. By night, his name moved differently. It passed from dock workers to bookies, from crooked inspectors to nightclub owners, from nervous councilmen to men with scars under expensive suits. People did not say Cole ruled Boston. They said he kept Boston balanced. That was the polite version. The honest version was simpler. Cole Harrington decided who stayed rich, who stayed quiet, and who disappeared. He did not look like a man born to violence. That was part of his danger. He wore black suits cut close to the body, white shirts without a wrinkle, and watches so expensive they did not need to shine. His hair was dark, always controlled. His eyes were gray, patient, and unreadable. He spoke softly, and men leaned in because missing one word from Cole could cost them everything. He rarely raised his hand. He rarely had to. A look from him could empty a room. A pause from him could ruin a deal. A single phone call made judges reconsider unions, cooperate witnesses, forget, and enemies remember they had families. But in the penthouse above Boston Harbor, where glass walls caught the morning light and turned the water silver, Maya Harrington had learned something no one else in the city understood. Cole Harrington could command every room in Boston, but he did not know how to come home. He arrived late. He left early. Sometimes he kissed her forehead while reading messages on his phone. Sometimes he told her she looked beautiful without looking long enough to know whether it was true. He paid for everything around her with the care of a man who believed provision was the highest form of love. The private driver, the security detail, the closet full of silk dresses, the chef who knew she liked basil in her tomato soup, the art on the walls, the charity board seats, the quiet doctor who came to the penthouse when she had a fever, the diamond ring big enough to catch the light from across a ballroom. Cole gave Maya a palace. Then he left her alone inside it. At first, Maya made excuses for him. He was tired. He was responsible for too many people. He carried danger on his shoulders. He had enemies. He had pressure. He had a mother who spoke about sacrifice as if it were a family religion. So Maya smiled when he missed dinner. She kept his food warm until midnight, then scraped it into the trash when he texted that he would not be home. She wore the dresses Evelyn Harrington selected for her. She attended fundraisers where women kissed the air beside her cheek and men lowered their voices when she passed. She sat beside Cole in public and tried to look like a wife who was loved in private. Some nights when Cole finally came home, Maya stayed awake just to hear the elevator open. She would lie still beneath the sheets, her hand resting against the empty space beside her, listening to the soft click of his shoes on marble. He always moved quietly, even exhausted. Even wounded, even angry, Cole moved like a man trained never to be careless. He would enter the bedroom, loosen his tie, place his watch on the tray, and stand for a moment in the dark. Sometimes Maya thought he might speak. Sometimes she thought he might cross the room, slide into bed, pull her against him. And remember the man he had been during the first year of their marriage. The man who drove her to Cape Cod in the rain because she said she missed the ocean. the man who once stood in a grocery store aisle holding 2 jars of peanut butter, frowning like the choice mattered, because Maya had laughed and told him rich men never knew how to shop for themselves. The man who danced with her barefoot in the kitchen at 2 in the morning while an old soul song played from her phone. That man had not vanished all at once. He had been buried one silence at a time. Cole would look toward the bed. Maya would keep her breathing slow, afraid that if she asked for too much, he would step farther away. Then his phone would buzz, and the moment would die. 6 months into her pregnancy, Maya stopped waiting for him to notice. She stood in the bathroom one morning with one hand braced against the sink and the other curved around her stomach. Her reflection looked softer than she felt. Her face was pale. There were shadows under her eyes that makeup no longer hid. The faint swell beneath her silk robe had become impossible to ignore, at least to anyone who truly looked. The baby moved under her palm, a small roll, a quiet insistence. Maya closed her eyes. "I know," she whispered. "I'm trying." On the counter beside her lay a folded packet from Massachusetts Women's Medical Center. She had read it so many times the paper had softened at the edges. Maternal cardiac strain, elevated risk, specialist recommended, emergency delivery planning advised. She had heard the doctor's voice long after the appointment ended. "You need support, Mrs. Harrington. Not just medical support, emotional support, practical support. Stress matters with your condition." Maya had nodded because nodding was easier than explaining that stress lived in her home, wore pearls, and called itself family. The first time she tried to tell Cole about the baby, she cooked dinner herself. It was foolish, maybe, but she wanted the moment to feel normal. Not arranged by staff, not polished for public consumption, just chicken with rosemary, roasted carrots, warm bread, and the small blue box from the ultrasound clinic sitting on the chair beside her. Cole came home at 9:20. For one heartbeat, when he saw the candles and the table set for 2, something like guilt crossed his face. "Maya," he said, and her name sounded tired in his mouth. She smiled anyway. "I made dinner." His phone rang before he could answer. He looked at the screen. Maya watched the softness leave his face. "I have to take this. Cole, please, it can wait 10 minutes. His eyes flicked back to hers. Not cruel, not angry, just already gone. It can't. He stepped onto the balcony and closed the glass door behind him. The candles burned low. The food cooled. The baby moved once, then settled. By the time Cole came back inside, Maya had put the blue box in a drawer. The second time, she tried at breakfast. Cole stood at the kitchen island drinking black coffee while his chief of security spoke in clipped tones near the elevator. Maya entered wearing a cream sweater, her hair loose over one shoulder. Morning light touched the curve of her stomach. She did not hide it that day. Cole glanced at her. "Did you sleep? No," she said. "I need to talk to you." His gaze sharpened, but before he could respond, Evelyn Harrington walked in as if the penthouse belonged to her bones. Evelyn never knocked. She had keys, codes, staff loyalty, and the confidence of a woman who had survived widowhood by becoming harder than grief. She wore black wool and pearls that morning. Her silver hair was pinned at the nape of her neck. Her lipstick was the color of old wine. "Maya," Evelyn said, looking her over, "that sweater is not flattering." Cole looked down at his phone. Maya felt the words land and stay there. "I was just about to speak with Cole." Evelyn removed her gloves finger by finger. "Then speak. Unless it is private, which usually means dramatic." The security chief looked away. Cole said nothing. Maya's mouth went dry. The baby pressed against her ribs, and for a moment she wondered if her daughter could feel humiliation before she had even taken her first breath. "It can wait," Maya said. Evelyn smiled faintly. "Most things can." The third time Maya left the sonogram on Cole's desk. She placed it beside his silver pen where he would have to see it. Their daughter's tiny profile showed clearly in black and white. Maya stood over it for a long moment, then wrote on the back, "Our baby, 22 weeks." She waited all afternoon. Cole did not mention it at dinner because Cole did not come to dinner. The next morning, the sonogram was gone. Maya found Evelyn in the sitting room drinking tea beside the window. The older woman did not look up from her cup. "You should be more careful with sensitive things." Maya froze. "Where is it?" Evelyn lifted her eyes. "Safe. That was mine." "No, dear. Nothing that affects this family is only yours." Maya felt her heart kick hard, not from fear exactly, but from the sudden knowledge that she had been living in enemy territory and calling it marriage. "He needs to know. He needs to lead. He is my husband." Evelyn set her cup down with a sound so soft it was almost tender. "And he is my son. I know what destroys men like him." Maya's hand curled around the edge of the chair. Love weakness dressed as love. There were many ways to be slapped. Skin was only one of them. Maya turned without answering. She walked calmly to the hallway, calmly to the elevator, calmly into the private car waiting downstairs. Only when the door closed and the driver asked where she wanted to go did she press both hands over her stomach and fight for air. "To the hospital," she whispered. The driver looked at her in the mirror. "Mrs. Harrington, please." At the hospital, Dr. Lena Patel examined her in a room with pale walls and a window facing another building. Machines blinked beside the bed. A blood pressure cuff tightened around Maya's arm. The baby's heartbeat filled the room, quick and steady like a tiny drum refusing to surrender. Dr. Patel was a woman with warm brown eyes and no talent for comforting lies. "Maya," she said, pulling a chair close, "your numbers are worse." Maya stared at the monitor. "But the baby is okay. For now, yes. But your heart is under real strain. You need a full care plan. You need a cardiac specialist involved. You need someone with you who can make decisions fast if something changes." Maya laughed once, but no humor came with it. "My husband makes decisions fast." Dr. Patel waited. Maya wiped under one eye before the tear fell. "He just doesn't know there's a decision to make. Then tell him today." Maya looked at the pulse line jumping on the screen. "I've tried differently." The words were not cruel, but they cut because they were practical. That evening, Maya waited in Cole's office. It was the one room in the penthouse that still smelled like him. Cedar, smoke, clean soap, paper, power. The walls were lined with books he rarely had time to read. Behind his desk, Boston spread out under the night sky, glittering like a promise built on lies. Maya held the hospital envelope in her lap. When Cole entered, he stopped. "You're awake. Yes, it's late, I know." He removed his cufflinks, dropping them into a tray. "I had a long day." "So did I." Something in her tone made him look at her more carefully. For 1 second, truly carefully. Then his phone rang again. Maya stood. "Don't answer it." Cole looked at the screen. "Maya, please." His jaw tightened. Not at her pain, at the demand. "I have men waiting on this, and I have been waiting on you for months." The phone kept ringing. His eyes darkened. "This is not the time." Maya felt a pulse of pain behind her ribs. "When is the time, Cole? Tell me. Put it on your calendar. Have your assistant send me an invitation." His gaze went cold by habit, not choice. "I will not be spoken to like that in my own house." There it was. His own house, not their home. Maya lowered the envelope to his desk. Her hands were steady only because everything inside her was shaking too hard to show. "You're right," she said quietly. "I forgot where I was." She walked out before he could answer. Behind her, the phone stopped ringing. He did not follow. 2 days later, the Harrington Foundation Gala swallowed the city whole. Every year, Boston pretended not to know where Cole's money came from because the checks were large and the rooms were beautiful. The gala was held inside the grand ballroom of an old hotel near Copley Square, where chandeliers hung like frozen fire and marble columns rose toward a painted ceiling full of angels. Outside, cameras flashed. Inside, champagne moved on silver trays. Senators laughed with men who had broken laws for them. Judges shook hands with donors who owned their secrets. Wives glittered in diamonds. Security watched from every corner. Maya stood near the entrance in a silver gown Evelyn had sent that morning. It was too tight across her ribs. She had told the stylist she needed something looser. The stylist had gone pale and said Mrs. Harrington had already approved the dress. Everyone knew which Mrs. Harrington she meant, so Maya wore it. She stood tall. She smiled when spoken to. She kept one hand near her stomach and the other around a glass of sparkling water she did not drink. Cole looked magnificent across the room. That was the worst part. In public, he became exactly the man people wanted him to be, smooth, attentive, charming in controlled doses. He remembered names, debts, favors, weaknesses. He placed a hand at the lower back of elderly donors. He laughed softly at political jokes. He made every person feel chosen for the length of one conversation. Maya watched him touch a senator's shoulder and lean in to hear him better. She wondered what it felt like to have Cole Harrington's full attention. Once, she had known. Evelyn appeared beside her without a sound. "Straighten your shoulders," she said. Maya did not look at her. "I'm tired. You look tired." Maya breathed through a wave of dizziness. "That wasn't what I said." Evelyn's smile did not move. "You used to understand the difference between a private feeling and a public duty." Maya finally turned. "And you used to pretend better." For one brief second, Evelyn's eyes sharpened with something almost like respect. Then someone called Cole's name from the center of the ballroom, and the room began shifting around him. A senator from South Boston, red-faced from wine and confidence, lifted his glass. "Cole, when are you going to give this city another Harrington to fear?" Laughter moved through the crowd. Maya's stomach tightened. Cole smiled faintly, the kind of smile that showed nothing. The senator continued louder now, enjoying the attention. "Your father built a dynasty. Your mother protected it. Seems to me the next generation is overdue." More laughter. Cole's gaze flicked toward Maya. Their eyes met. For a heartbeat, she thought he knew. She thought some buried instinct might pull him toward her, toward the life beneath her hand, toward the truth she had been trying to place in front of him for months. Then Evelyn stepped beside Cole, not touching him, not speaking, just standing close enough to remind him who had trained him. Cole lifted his glass. "My wife has many beautiful qualities," he said. The room quieted with interest. Maya's breath caught. "She's gentle, soft-hearted, more suited to kindness than conflict." A few women smiled politely. Cole's voice remained smooth. "But the Harrington future requires strength. This life is not for the weak." The words did not strike Maya loudly. They entered quietly, found every bruise already there, and pressed. The weak. Someone chuckled. Someone else looked down. Evelyn's face did not change, but her satisfaction filled the space between chandeliers. Maya set her untouched glass on the nearest table. Her fingers did not tremble. That surprised her. After all those months of shaking in bathrooms, crying in cars, swallowing words in hallways, now that something inside her had finally broken, her body became calm. She turned and walked away. No scene, no raised voice, no hand over her mouth. Just the soft sound of silver fabric moving over marble as the wife of Cole Harrington left the ballroom while everyone pretended not to see. In the corridor, the music became muffled. The air cooled. Maya pressed one hand to the wall and waited for the dizziness to pass. Behind her, voices drifted through the open ballroom doors. Evelyn's voice came first. "You handled that well." Cole's answer was lower. She looked upset. She always looks upset. A pause. "I may have gone too far." Maya closed her eyes. Evelyn laughed softly. "That is guilt speaking. Do not confuse guilt with truth. Women like Maya survive by making men feel responsible for their fragility. She is my wife. Then stop letting her turn you into a servant." Silence followed. Maya waited. One word, she thought. One defense, one correction, one sign that he knew she was more than a fragile thing placed badly in his life. Cole said nothing, and in that nothing, Maya heard the end. She walked down the corridor, past a waiter carrying champagne, past a security guard who straightened when he saw her, past a mirror where she caught sight of herself and barely recognized the woman looking back. She did not go to the coat check. She did not ask for a car. She entered the ladies' room, locked herself in the farthest stall, and finally let one hand cover her mouth. The first sob hurt her chest. The baby moved small and restless beneath the silver dress. Maya pulled in a breath and whispered into the quiet. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Not to Cole, not to herself. To the little girl inside her who had already heard enough. When Maya returned to the penthouse just after midnight, she moved through it like a ghost who knew the floor plan. The staff had gone quiet. The guards were posted below. Cole would not be home for hours. He would stay until every hand had been shaken, every photograph taken, every lie polished. Maya went first to the bedroom. She removed the silver gown and left it pooled on the floor. She put on black leggings, a loose sweater, and the warm coat she had bought years before Cole started dressing her through stylists and expectations. She wiped off her lipstick. She took the pins from her hair. She looked younger without the diamonds. No, not younger, more real. She pulled a small suitcase from the back of the closet, then stopped. A suitcase would be noticed, so she took a canvas overnight bag instead. Into it went 2 changes of clothes, her medical papers, cash she had hidden inside old books, a bottle of prenatal vitamins, her mother's necklace, and the journal she had kept for months. She opened the drawer beside the bed. Inside was the wedding ring box Cole had given her the night he proposed. She remembered that night too clearly. The private rooftop, the snow beginning over Boston. Cole, looking almost nervous, which had felt impossible and precious. "I don't know how to love gently," he had told her then. Maya had touched his face, then love honestly. He had promised he would try. Now Maya looked at the ring on her finger. She had worn it through lonely dinners, hospital visits, public smiles, private panic, and tonight's humiliation. It had become heavier than metal had any right to be. She slipped it off. The skin beneath was pale. For a moment she thought she might break again. Instead, she placed the ring on his pillow. Not on the dresser, not in the box. On his pillow where her head should have been. Then she sat at the desk and wrote the letter. "Cole, I used to think your silence meant you were tired. Then I thought it meant you were busy. Tonight I finally understood. Your silence was your answer. I am not leaving because of one sentence. I am leaving because that sentence was the only honest thing you have said to me in months. I am pregnant. We are having a daughter. I tried to tell you. I tried more times than I can count. Maybe you will say I should have tried harder. Maybe you are right. But a wife should not have to fight through assistants, locked doors, phone calls, and your mother just to tell her husband that he is going to be a father. There is more. My heart is not strong enough for this pregnancy without serious care. The doctors are worried. I was worried too. I wanted you with me. I wanted your hand in mine. I wanted to be afraid beside you instead of alone in rooms where everyone asked why my husband was not there. Your mother knew. She kept things from you. She told me I would weaken you. Maybe you believed her before she ever said it. I hope one day our daughter knows love that does not ask her to disappear." Maya stopped writing. Tears dropped onto the paper. She let them. Then she folded the letter and placed it beside the ring. The hospital envelope, the sonogram, and the small flash drive she had prepared after Evelyn's threats became too dangerous to keep only in memory. At the bedroom door, Maya turned back. The penthouse was beautiful. Cold moonlight washed over white sheets, glass walls, polished floors, and the harbor beyond. This was the room where she had once believed she would grow old with Cole. This was the room where she had waited for him so many nights that waiting became part of the furniture. Her chest tightened. For one terrible second she wanted to stay. Not because she was weak, because love does not die cleanly even when it is starving. Then her daughter moved. A slow, steady pressure beneath her hand. Maya inhaled. "You're right," she whispered. "We go." She did not take the private elevator. She knew the cameras there. She knew the guards. She knew Cole's world was built to track movement, contain risk, prevent loss. So she used the service corridor. Her shoes made almost no sound against the concrete stairs. Somewhere far below the building hummed. Rain tapped against narrow windows. Each floor marker passed like a countdown. 47, 46, 45. Her breathing grew uneven by the 30th floor. By the 20th, pain pressed behind her ribs. By the 10th, she had to stop and grip the railing, eyes squeezed shut, the overnight bag hanging from her shoulder. "No," she whispered to her own body. "Not here. Please, not here." The pain eased enough for her to move. In the basement, she waited until a delivery door opened for a maintenance worker pulling a cart of linens. He glanced at her once, saw the pale face, the coat, the bag, and perhaps the desperation. His eyes softened. He held the door wider. Maya stepped into the rain. Boston hit her all at once. Cold air, wet pavement, distant sirens, the smell of salt and exhaust. The city Cole owned rising around her in steel and glass, indifferent to the woman slipping through its shadows. She walked 2 blocks before raising her hood. 3 before she allowed herself to cry. At South Station, she bought a bus ticket with cash under her maiden name, Maya Brooks. The name looked strange on the printed receipt. Like a woman she had been before, silk dresses, security codes, and men who lowered their voices when her husband entered the room. She sat near the back of the bus, one hand on her stomach, the other wrapped around the strap of her bag. A man across the aisle snored softly. A college girl listened to music through pink headphones. An old woman in a raincoat folded a crossword puzzle with careful fingers. No one knew her, no one bowed, no one watched, no one called her Mrs. Harrington. As the bus pulled out of Boston, Maya looked through the wet window at the city blurring behind her. Somewhere in that glittering maze, Cole was still smiling for cameras, still shaking hands, still believing his wife would be waiting where he left her. Maya touched the place where her ring had been. The skin felt bare. The baby moved once, then settled beneath her palm. By the time the skyline disappeared, Maya had stopped crying. Back in the penthouse, the bedroom waited in perfect silence with a ring on a pillow, a letter beside it, and the truth laid out neatly for a man who had built an empire on knowing everything except the heart of the woman sleeping next to him. The truth destroys the king. The truth waited for Cole Harrington in a room too quiet for a man who had spent his life surrounded by noise. He came home just before 4 a.m, still wearing the black tuxedo from the gala, his bow tie loose around his neck, the scent of cigar smoke and expensive champagne clinging to him like another man's skin. The city behind the glass walls was beginning to pale at the edges. Boston Harbor moved under the moonlight, cold and dark, carrying ships in and secrets out. Cole stepped out of the private elevator with his phone in one hand and blood on his cuff. Not much, just a smear near the wrist. A dock foreman had gotten brave after midnight. A warning had been needed. Cole had handled it himself because some messages landed better when delivered by the man in charge. He expected the penthouse to be asleep. He expected Maya to be in bed, turned away from his side, pretending not to care that he had come home late again. He expected the familiar ache in his chest when he saw her there and did not know how to cross the distance. Instead, the bedroom door stood open. The bed was untouched on her side. Her robe was gone from the chair. Her slippers were gone from the floor. Cole stopped in the doorway. Something inside him went still. He did not call her name right away. Men like Cole did not panic first. They assessed. They listened. They measured the room against what should have been there. One dresser drawer sat half open. The faint scent of Maya's vanilla lotion lingered near the bathroom. The silver gown from the gala lay on the floor like shed skin, and on her pillow, placed with terrible care, was her wedding ring. Cole stared at it. For several seconds, the city, the empire, the blood on his cuff, the men waiting for orders, all of it fell away. He crossed the room slowly. The ring caught the low light from the harbor and flashed once as if recognizing him before he recognized the damage. Beside it lay a folded letter, a black and white photograph, a thick hospital envelope, and a flash drive with a strip of white tape across it. "Listen, before you blame me." Cole picked up the photograph first. At a glance, it meant nothing. Then his mind adjusted. A sonogram, a tiny face, a curved spine, a fragile shape floating in darkness. On the back, in Maya's handwriting, were 6 words. "Our daughter, 24 weeks. I tried." Cole's knees almost failed him. He sat on the edge of the bed because standing no longer seemed possible. The photograph shook between his fingers. Not from fear, not exactly. From the violent collision of a truth he should have known, and a life he had failed to see. A daughter. Maya was carrying his daughter. No, not was, is. His eyes snapped to the letter. He opened it with hands that had never trembled over ledgers, guns, contracts, or bodies. "Cole, I used to think your silence meant you were tired. Then I thought it meant you were busy. Tonight I finally understood. Your silence was your answer. I am not leaving because of one sentence. I am leaving because that sentence was the only honest thing you have said to me in months." His throat tightened. He read on. The words did not shout at him. Maya had never been loud when pain mattered most. They were steady, precise, and more devastating because of it. She told him about the baby, about the appointments, about the hospital rooms where nurses asked if anyone was coming, about the cardiac warnings, about trying to tell him at dinner at breakfast in his office with the sonogram on his desk. He remembered the blue box now, vaguely, a box on a chair beside a candlelit table. He had taken a call and come back to find dinner cold. He remembered the cream sweater at breakfast. Maya standing in morning light with something fragile in her expression before Evelyn entered and cut the moment open. He remembered the envelope on his desk. He had been angry that night, distracted. A call, a threat, a shipment delay. He had seen the envelope without seeing it. No, he had chosen not to see it. Cole kept reading. There is more. My heart is not strong enough for this pregnancy without serious care. The doctors are worried. I was worried too. I wanted you with me. I wanted your hand in mine. I wanted to be afraid beside you instead of alone in rooms where everyone asked why my husband was not there. His vision blurred. Cole blinked once hard. Men had begged in front of him before. Men had cried. Men had offered names, money, children, prayers. He had watched all of it with the cold patience of a judge who already knew the sentence. But Maya's letter did what bullets had never done. It entered him. It moved through every guarded place and found the softest part. Your mother knew. She kept things from you. She told me I would weaken you. Maybe you believed her before she ever said it. I hope one day our daughter knows love that does not ask her to disappear. There was no signature beyond her name. Maya, just Maya. Not Mrs. Harrington, not his wife. Maya. Cole set the letter down with unnatural care as if it were a living thing that might break. Then he opened the hospital envelope. Medical reports slid across the bed. Test results, specialist referrals, blood pressure records. Notes from Dr. Lena Patel, words circled in red. Maternal cardiac strain, high-risk delivery, immediate support recommended, stress reduction urgent, emergency plan advised. Cole read every page. Then he read them again. On the third page, a line seemed to rise from the paper and press itself into his chest. Patient reports limited spousal involvement due to occupational demands. Limited spousal involvement, that was what they called it in clean medical language. Not abandonment, not loneliness, not a woman sitting in a hospital room pretending her husband was busy because saying he was absent would make it real. Cole stood so abruptly the papers scattered onto the floor. He called Maya. The phone rang once, then went to voicemail. Her voice filled the room. Hi, it's Maya. Leave a message and I'll call you back when I can. That voice. Warm, quiet, ordinary. Cole had ignored that voice too many times to count. He called again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. His hand tightened around the phone until the glass creaked. He wanted to leave a message. He wanted to say her name. He wanted to command, plead, threaten the universe itself. Nothing came out, because every sentence he knew belonged to the man who had driven her away. Come home. Too selfish. I'm sorry. Too small. I love you. Too late. Cole lowered the phone. The flash drive still waited on the pillow. Listen before you blame me. He crossed to his desk, plugged it into the computer, and stood over the screen as the file loaded. Static hissed. Then Evelyn Harrington's voice emerged from the speakers. Calm, elegant, familiar. Maya, women like you ruin men like my son. Cole did not move. Maya's voice followed, faint but clear. I'm pregnant, Evelyn. He needs to know. He needs to lead. He is my husband, and he is my son. I know what destroys men like him. A pause, the soft click of china. Maya's breathing was uneven. You hid the sonogram. I protected him from distraction. Our baby is not a distraction. To you, perhaps not. To Cole, everything that softens his judgment is a threat. Cole gripped the edge of the desk. The wood groaned under his hands. Evelyn continued. You think carrying his child gives you power. It does not. It gives his enemies leverage. It gives you a reason to pull him out of rooms where decisions must be made. It gives him guilt. And guilt makes men careless. Maya's voice cracked. I could die. There was silence on the recording. Then Evelyn said very softly, Then I suggest you make peace with God before making demands of my son. Cole ripped the flash drive from the computer so hard the port snapped. The room went dead quiet. For one moment he did not breathe. The rage rose too fast, too clean, too familiar. He could see the path of it. He knew exactly where it wanted to go. Men had died for less. Men had vanished for less. If anyone else had spoken those words to Maya, Cole would already have had a gun in his hand and a destination in mind. But this was his mother. The woman who raised him after his father was buried in a closed casket. The woman who taught him how to read lies in men's eyes. The woman who kissed his forehead at 9 years old and told him that crying made predators hungry. The woman who had turned his marriage into a battlefield and called it protection. Cole walked into the bathroom and gripped the marble sink. His reflection looked back at him. The tuxedo, The bruised knuckles, the blood on his cuff, the face Boston feared. For the first time in his life, Cole looked at himself and saw the monster Maya had been running from. He tore the cufflinks from his sleeves and threw them into the mirror. Glass cracked outward from the impact. Not enough. Nothing would be enough. He left the penthouse before sunrise. Evelyn Harrington lived in Beacon Hill in a brick mansion older than most of the city's sins. Ivy climbed the walls. Gas lamps glowed near the black front door. Inside, everything smelled of polished wood, old money, and roses cut before they had fully bloomed. The staff saw Cole and stepped aside without a word. He found Evelyn in the breakfast room. She was dressed already, of course. Black silk blouse, pearls, hair pinned smooth, a cup of tea cooling beside her hand. She looked like a woman waiting for news she already owned. "You found her little performance," Evelyn said. Cole placed the sonogram on the table. It lay between them like evidence in a trial. "You knew." Evelyn looked down at the image. A flicker passed across her face so fast another man might have missed it. Cole was not another man. I knew she was becoming unstable. Cole's voice came out low. "You knew she was pregnant." Evelyn lifted her cup but did not drink. "I knew she intended to use a child to bend your judgment. That is my child. And this is your family." He leaned forward, palms flat on the table. "No, this is your altar, and you have been feeding everyone I love into it for years." Evelyn's mouth tightened. "You sound like your father when he forgot what mercy cost him. My father died because men he trusted betrayed him. My husband died because he hesitated." Cole looked at her, and something old inside him cracked. There it was, the story she had carved into him since childhood. His father had loved too much. His father had trusted too deeply. His father had softened, and softness had invited death. Evelyn had built Cole from that warning. But now, with Maya's sonogram on the table, he wondered how much of his life had been shaped by grief twisted into doctrine. "You made me afraid of loving my wife. I made you strong enough to survive. You made me empty." Evelyn stood. The chair scraped against the floor. "Do not confuse heartbreak with clarity. She left you in the night. She took your child and ran. That is betrayal." Cole's eyes hardened. "She left because I gave her no safe way to stay. That is her version. I read her journal." Evelyn went still. Cole saw it again, that tiny fracture in her control. He reached into his coat and placed Maya's journal on the table, but kept his hand on top of it. "She wrote about the appointments, the pain, the night she waited, the sonogram you stole, the fear you taught her to swallow." Evelyn's face became ice. "You would take the word of a frightened girl over your mother." Cole looked at the woman who had once been the center of his entire world. "Yes." The word was quiet. It ended something. Evelyn's eyes shone, but no tears fell. Tears would have required surrender. "You will regret this. I already regret everything I let you touch." Cole took out his phone and called his attorney. Evelyn watched him, her chin lifted. "Daniel," Cole said when the call connected. "Effective immediately remove Evelyn Harrington from all foundation authority, all trust access, all estate voting rights, and all security clearance tied to my properties." Evelyn's hand tightened around the back of her chair. Cole continued. "No delays, no courtesy calls. Send the documents within the hour." He ended the call. Then he called Frank Doyle, his head of security. "My mother is no longer authorized at the penthouse, the docks, the club, or any Harrington office. Anyone who lets her in answers to me." Evelyn laughed once. It was a hard little sound. "You are burning your own house because a woman cried." Cole put his phone away. "No, I am opening the windows because I finally smell the smoke." For the first time Cole could remember, Evelyn looked at him as if she did not know who stood before her. He picked up the sonogram, the journal, the medical papers. Then he turned to leave. At the doorway, Evelyn's voice followed him. "If you chase her, the city will see weakness." Cole stopped but did not turn. Let it look closely. By 8 in the morning, Boston already knew something was wrong. Cole's closest men gathered at Harrington Security's private office near the harbor. The room had no windows, one steel door, and a conference table where decisions had been made that never reached public record. Grant Walsh stood at the far end, arms crossed. Grant had been with Cole for 12 years. Former Marine, scar through one eyebrow, loyal but not sentimental. He understood violence timing and the fragile math of fear. Frank Doyle stood near the wall, silent and watchful. 2 lieutenants waited by the door, unsure whether to speak. Cole entered, carrying Maya's ring in his closed fist. Grant saw his face and dismissed the others with one nod. When the room cleared, Grant said, "Tell me who we're killing." Cole opened his hand. The ring lay in his palm. Grant's expression changed. Maya gone. Grant's eyes moved once toward the door, as if calculating immediate action. "I'll put men on every station, airport, hotel, clinic, and highway exit. If she left the state, we'll know." "No." Grant stopped. Cole looked up. No guns near her. No pressure. No grabbing her off a street. No dragging her into a car because you think that solves my problem. Grant studied him. "She's carrying your child," Cole's silence answered. Grant exhaled through his nose. "Then she's vulnerable. She's not cargo." "I didn't say she was. You were thinking it." Grant did not deny it. Cole walked to the table and spread the papers out. Hospital forms, receipts, a bus schedule found through one of Frank's contacts. Security reports from the penthouse, a gap in the service stairwell footage. Frank spoke first. "She planned it well. Used the service route. No driver. Paid cash at South Station. Phone shut off before she crossed the river." Cole closed his eyes for half a second. The image came to him with painful clarity. Maya in the stairwell, Maya in the rain, Maya at a bus terminal in the middle of the night with his daughter inside her and fear pushing her forward. What name? Frank hesitated. Cole opened his eyes. What name did she use? Maya Brooks. Her old name, the one she had before him. It hurt more than it should have. Grant leaned over the table. "We can still find her. Quietly. You find her location, nothing else. And if she refuses to see you," Cole looked at the ring again, "then I stand far enough away that she can breathe." Grant stared at him as if he had started speaking a foreign language. "You understand what happens if you step away right now?" Cole did not answer. Grant continued. "Rourke has been testing our routes for weeks. New York wants a piece of the port. The councilman you scared last night will change sides if he thinks you're distracted. Your mother has allies who will not appreciate being cut out. You vanish chasing your wife, and every hungry man in Boston starts sharpening knives." Cole slipped Maya's ring into his pocket. "Then let them cut each other. That is not strategy." "No," Cole said. "It is consequence." Grant stepped closer. "Boss, listen to me. I get that you're angry. I get that you're scared. But you built this life. You cannot just walk out because your marriage is on fire." Cole looked at him. "My marriage is not on fire. It burned while I was counting money in another room." Grant had no answer for that. For the next 2 days, Cole did not sleep. He moved through Boston like a man walking the ruins of his own pride. He visited the hospital where Maya had been treated. Dr. Patel refused to give him details until he produced the proper releases Maya had left for emergency access only. Even then, the doctor did not soften. "She needed you months ago, Mr. Harrington." Cole stood across from her desk, unshaven coat, wrinkled eyes hollow. "I know." Dr. Patel's mouth pressed tight. "Do you? Because women like Maya often apologize while they are bleeding. They minimize pain because someone has taught them their pain is inconvenient. Cole absorbed the blow because he deserved it. "How dangerous is it?" Dr. Patel folded her hands. "Very. If she goes into labor without a cardiac team nearby, she could die. The baby could also be at risk. Stress exhaustion, poor monitoring, any of it could push her into crisis." Cole gripped the back of a chair. "Tell me what she needs. She needs safety, medical care, stability, and she needs the right to decide who stands beside her. Again, the same lesson. Not money, not force, not command, permission." Cole left the hospital with a list of specialists and a fear so large it seemed to alter the air around him. The search narrowed through small traces. A pharmacy outside Portsmouth where Maya bought prenatal vitamins. A roadside clinic that had requested her records under her maiden name. A motel clerk who remembered a pale pregnant woman paying cash and asking which buses went north. A diner receipt from a town near the Maine coast, Haven Point. Population small enough for strangers to be noticed. Far enough from Boston to feel like escape. Close enough to Portland for a hospital if something went wrong. Cole stood in his office at dawn staring at the name written on a yellow legal pad. Haven Point, Maine. The city beyond the window was waking. Trucks moved along the harbor. Men in reflective vests crossed the docks. His empire breathed below him, restless and waiting for its king to return to the throne. Cole picked up his coat. Grant waited by the elevator. "I'm driving," Grant said. Cole did not argue. As the elevator doors opened, Frank approached with a phone in hand. "Your mother has called 6 times." Cole stepped inside. "Block the number." Frank nodded. Grant followed him in. The doors began to close. For a moment, Cole saw his reflection in the polished steel. Dark suit, tired eyes. A man who had lost the right to ask for trust and was going anyway because doing nothing would be another kind of cruelty. He reached into his pocket and touched Maya's ring. Then the doors closed, and Boston's most feared man descended from his tower not as a king hunting what belonged to him, but as a husband searching for the woman he had taught to run. The road out of Boston did not forgive him. Cole sat in the passenger seat while Grant drove north through the gray morning past warehouses, toll signs, frozen marshes, and gas stations waking under fluorescent lights. The farther they moved from the city, the quieter Cole became. His phone stayed face down on his thigh. Every few minutes it buzzed with calls from men who needed orders, men who smelled weakness, men who had spent years mistaking his attention for oxygen. He did not answer. Maya had left through a service stairwell with a failing heart and his daughter inside her. Everything else could rot for a while. Grant kept both hands on the wheel, eyes forward. "You want me to call ahead?" "No. You know walking into a small town like this without preparation is stupid." Cole looked out the window. "I prepared for everything except being the reason my wife ran." Grant's jaw shifted, but he said nothing. Maine appeared slowly. The highway thinned. The buildings dropped lower. Trees crowded the shoulders of the road, dark and wet under a sky the color of steel. By the time they reached Haven Point, fog had rolled in from the Atlantic and wrapped itself around the town like a secret. Haven Point did not look like a place built to hide a Harrington. It looked too honest. A main street sloped toward the harbor, lined with clapboard storefronts, a hardware store, a post office, a tiny library with white trim, and a diner with yellow light glowing through steamed windows. Fishing boats rocked in the water below. Wind moved through old flags on porches. Gulls screamed over the docks. Every car seemed known. Every curtain seemed capable of moving. Grant slowed the SUV near the town square. A man in a knit cap paused with a toolbox in one hand and stared. A woman walking a brown dog stopped, pretending not to stare after 3 seconds. An old fisherman seated on a bench looked at the black SUV, then at Cole's suit, then spat into a paper cup. Grant gave a humorless laugh. Subtle. Cole did not respond. His gaze had fixed on a small clinic across from the pharmacy. White siding, blue door, a wooden sign that read, "Haven Point Family Care." There was a ramp by the entrance and a row of faded planters along the porch. A woman came out slowly, one hand on the railing, the other resting low on her stomach. Cole stopped breathing. Maya. She wore a loose gray sweater, black leggings, and a cream scarf wrapped around her neck. Her hair was pulled back carelessly, not styled, not polished, not arranged for anyone's approval. She looked thinner, paler, more tired than he had ever allowed himself to see. The wind lifted a few strands of hair across her face, and she tucked them behind her ear with a familiar motion that hurt more than it should have. She was real. She was alive. She was 10 yards away, and for the first time since he had found the ring, Cole's body moved before his mind could stop it. He opened the door. Maya looked up. The entire street seemed to narrow around them. Her face changed in pieces. First confusion, then disbelief. Then fear so sharp it cut him where he stood. She gripped the railing. Cole froze. That small movement, her hand tightening on painted wood, stopped him harder than a gun aimed at his chest. A man stepped out behind Maya. Tall, broad-shouldered, mid-40s, with tired eyes and a stethoscope still hanging around his neck. He moved fast enough to be protective, but not careless. "Ma'am," he said, placing himself half in front of her. "Do you know this man?" Maya's lips parted. For a moment, no sound came. Cole wanted to say her name. He wanted to cross the street. He wanted to reach for her, hold her, apologize against her hair until the world gave him permission to breathe again. He did none of it. Maya swallowed. "He's my husband." The doctor looked from Maya to Cole, and his expression hardened. Cole had been judged by dangerous men, dying men, federal men, greedy men. None of them had ever made him feel as small as this country doctor did with one glance. Grant stepped out behind Cole, and the doctor noticed immediately. Cole lifted one hand without turning. "Stay by the car." Grant stopped. Maya saw it. So did the doctor. Cole crossed the street slowly, each step measured his palms open at his sides. Maya. Her name came out rough. She flinched anyway. Cole stopped again. "I'm not here to take you." Maya's eyes glistened, but her voice when it came was steady. "You don't know how not to take." The words struck clean. There was no anger in them. Anger would have been easier. This was knowledge. This was a woman telling him what his love had felt like from inside the cage. The doctor looked at Maya. "Do you want him gone?" Cole looked at her too. He made himself ready for the answer. Maya stared at him across the damp sidewalk. Behind her, the clinic door stood open. Inside, warm light spilled over scuffed floors and a row of waiting room chairs. A safe place, not because it had locks, but because she could say no there and someone would believe her. Finally, she said, "Not yet." The doctor gave Cole a look that promised consequences. Inside, the office smelled like antiseptic coffee and raincoats. A small heater clicked beneath the window. On the wall hung a framed print of sailboats in summer light, though outside the real harbor looked cold enough to swallow the world. Maya sat first. Cole waited until she chose the chair farthest from him. Then he sat across from her, leaving the desk between them. The doctor remained standing. "I'm Dr. Sam Keller, Cole Harrington. I know who you are." Cole did not ask how. His name had a way of arriving before him even in towns that looked untouched by his world. The door opened behind them and a woman in uniform stepped in. Late 40s, sharp blue eyes, brown hair streaked with gray, and tied at the nape of her neck. Her badge read, Sheriff Rebecca Lane. She looked at Maya first. "You all right?" Maya nodded. Then Sheriff Lane looked at Cole. The room cooled by several degrees. "Mr. Harrington, Sheriff, I got a call from Nora saying a black SUV rolled in looking expensive enough to cause trouble." Maya's cheeks flushed slightly. Cole caught the name, Nora. Someone had been watching over her. Good. That thought surprised him with its force. Sheriff Lane closed the door. "Before anyone speaks too much, I want this clear. Mrs. Harrington is in this office because she chose to be. She leaves when she chooses to leave. If she asks you to go, you go." Cole nodded once. "Yes." Sheriff Lane narrowed her eyes as if agreement annoyed her. Maya watched him like she did not trust the shape of his obedience. That was fair. Dr. Keller took the chair beside Maya, not touching her but close enough to signal where his loyalty stood. Cole reached into his coat. The sheriff's hand moved to her belt. Cole stopped instantly. "Medical papers," he said. Slowly he removed a folder and set it on the desk. "I saw Dr. Patel." Maya's face tightened. "You went to my doctor. She would not tell me anything beyond what you had authorized for emergencies. And that bothered you?" "Yes." Her eyes flashed. "Good." Cole lowered his gaze. "Yes." The answer seemed to disarm her more than denial would have. He pushed the folder no closer. "She gave me names of cardiac specialists. Portland, Boston, New York. I can arrange any of them. I can pay for whatever equipment Dr. Keller needs. I can get a medical helicopter on standby. I can do all of it without making you leave Haven Point." Maya's hand curved over her stomach. "You came with solutions. I came with money," Cole said quietly. "I'm trying to learn the difference." No one spoke. Rain tapped the window. Maya looked away first. Dr. Keller opened the folder, scanning the names and notes. His expression shifted despite himself. Medical need overruled personal dislike for a moment. "This could help," he said. Maya's eyes stayed on the window. Cole added, "Nothing is tied to me. I set up an account in your name, Emergency Medical Trust, no conditions, no access from my side." She looked back at him. "You expect me to believe that no? Then why say it? Because it is true whether you believe it today or not." Maya's mouth trembled, but she controlled it quickly. "You found out I was pregnant, and suddenly you know how to be honest." Cole took the blow. "I found out you were pregnant and realized I had become the last person you could tell." Her eyes filled then fast and bright. He hated himself for every tear. Sheriff Lane shifted by the door, quiet but alert. Maya leaned forward slightly. Do you understand what it felt like to sit in hospital rooms alone, Cole? To hear words like cardiac failure and maternal risk while your name was on every emergency form and you weren't in the chair beside me. His throat tightened. No. That answer seemed to anger her. No, he said, voice low. I can imagine it. I can hate myself for it. But I do not get to claim I understand a pain I caused and did not share. Maya looked at him for a long time. That was the first true thing he had said in her presence in months. It did not heal anything, but it landed. Dr. Keller cleared his throat. Mrs. Harrington needs a larger care plan. Her condition is serious. She needs cardiac monitoring, rapid transport access, and a surgical delivery plan if her numbers keep trending the wrong way. This clinic cannot handle a crisis alone. Cole kept his eyes on Maya. Then we build the plan around what she wants. Sheriff Lane gave a short laugh. Cole looked at her. She folded her arms. Sorry. Just not used to men like you saying sentences like that. Maya almost smiled. Almost. Cole saw it and felt the smallest, sharpest ache of hope. Then Maya turned back to him and killed it gently. I have rules. Cole nodded. Tell me. You don't stay with me. Yes. You don't put guards outside my door. His instinct resisted. He crushed it before it reached his face. Yes. You don't speak to Dr. Keller about me unless I am present. Yes. You don't talk to Nora like she works for you. Cole glanced at the sheriff, then back at Maya. Yes. You don't contact your mother. I already cut her off. Pain moved through Maya's face, but it was complicated. Hurt, relief, suspicion, something else. I didn't ask you to do that. I know. Don't make it my debt. I won't. Her eyes searched his face. You don't get to call the baby yours like I was just carrying her for you. Cole went still. That one cut deepest because it was aimed at the oldest part of him. Legacy, name, blood, possession, the language of his world. He looked at Maya's stomach, then at her face. She is yours first, he said. I missed the right to say otherwise. Maya inhaled unsteadily. The room held its breath with her. And you don't ask me to forgive you, she said. Cole's voice nearly failed. I won't. Not in private. Not in front of other people. Not while I'm scared. Not while I'm sick. Not because you are hurting. He nodded. I understand. No, Maya said. You don't. But you can obey it anyway. For the first time, Cole almost smiled. Not with amusement. With pain. With recognition. Yes, he said, I can. When the meeting ended, Maya stood carefully. Cole rose too, then stopped when she stiffened. Dr. Keller offered her his arm. She took it. Cole watched another man help his wife walk across a room and forced himself to be grateful instead of jealous. Outside, a woman waited on the clinic porch. Nora Whitaker was in her 60s, round-faced and sturdy with silver hair cut to her chin and a diner apron still tied under her coat. Her eyes were kind when they rested on Maya and hard when they moved to Cole, so she said, This is him. Maya sighed softly. Nora. What I'm looking. Cole stepped down from the porch, giving them space. Nora looked him up and down. Expensive shoes. Cole glanced at his shoes. Nora continued, Men with shoes like that either bring flowers or trouble. I don't see flowers. Grant, still by the SUV, looked away like he was hiding a smile. Cole said, I do not want to bring trouble to her. Wanting and doing are cousins, not twins. Maya's eyes lowered, and this time there was no almost. The corner of her mouth moved. Cole saw it. Nora saw him see it. Her expression sharpened. Don't look so relieved. She smiled before you arrived. Cole lowered his gaze. Yes, ma'am. Nora snorted. Boston men get polite when they know they're losing. Maya touched Nora's arm. I'm tired. The older woman softened instantly. Come on, honey. I made soup. Cole took one step back as they passed. Maya did not look at him, but she did not run. That afternoon, Cole rented a room at the Harbor Light Inn. He did not buy the inn, though the old instinct rose almost immediately when the clerk said there was only one room left with a faulty heater. He handed over a credit card under a clean legal name tied to one of his legitimate companies and took the key without comment. The room was small, a brass bed, a quilt faded by years of washing, a narrow bathroom, a window facing the harbor. The radiator clanked like something alive and resentful. Grant stepped inside, looked around, and said, You sure you don't want to buy civilization while we're here? Cole set his bag on the chair. Go back to Boston. Grant stared at him. No, that was not a request. Good. I'm tired of taking those. Cole turned. Grant's expression was flat, but something like concern sat underneath it. You are not thinking clearly. I am thinking clearly for the first time in years. You are in a town with one sheriff, a doctor who hates you, a diner woman who might poison you, and a wife who doesn't want you within 10 feet of her. Meanwhile, Boston is being held together with duct tape and fear. Cole removed his coat. Then hold it. Grant laughed once. Me, you wanted responsibility. I wanted you alive. Cole looked toward the harbor. She was alone because every man around me learned my priorities too well. Grant said nothing. Cole continued. So learn new ones. Grant watched him for a long moment. Then he nodded. I'll stay until morning. Cole did not argue again. At 6, Cole walked to Nora's diner. Not to see Maya. That was what he told himself. The diner sat on the corner near the harbor road with fogged windows and a red sign that buzzed faintly. Inside, fishermen sat over coffee, a teenage girl did homework near the pie case, and Sheriff Lane ate eggs at the counter like she had chosen the seat with the best view of the door. Every conversation dipped when Cole entered. Nora came out from the kitchen carrying a pot of coffee. No. Cole paused. I haven't said anything. You were going to. I would like dinner. This is a diner. Try again. He looked toward the back hallway, then stopped himself. Nora noticed. She's upstairs resting. Cole's jaw tightened. Above the diner, in my spare apartment. Before that, above the bait shop. Before that, scared in a motel outside Portsmouth. Before that, on a bus in the rain. Each sentence hit like a closed fist. Nora poured coffee for the sheriff, then looked back at him. She got here with a fever and no appetite. Tried to pay 3 months up front in cash. Nearly fainted before she finished the sentence. I don't know everything you did, and I don't need to. I know what a woman looks like when love has made her homeless. Cole stood very still. Sheriff Lane looked down at her plate, but her fork had stopped moving. Nora pointed to a booth by the window. You can eat there. You don't go upstairs. You don't ask me to carry messages. You don't stare at the ceiling like longing makes you noble. Cole went to the booth. A few minutes later, Nora brought him fish chowder and black coffee. He looked at the bowl. I didn't order. Correct. He picked up the spoon. Thank you. She looked unimpressed. For nearly an hour, Cole sat by the window and ate slowly. He heard the floor creak above him once. Then again. His body responded to each sound before his mind could stop it. Maya was above him, safe or safer than she had been, breathing, carrying their daughter, not his, hers first. He closed his eyes. From the counter, Sheriff Lane watched him with the expression of someone deciding whether a dangerous dog could be trained or only leashed. The next days passed strangely. Cole did not know how to exist without commanding the room. In Haven Point, command did not work the same way. The hardware store owner refused to extend hours because Cole needed supplies delivered to the clinic. The pharmacist asked for paperwork and did not care whose name was on the credit card. Sheriff Lane ignored 3 of his calls and then texted him one sentence. If it is not a medical emergency, learn patience. He hated that he deserved it. Dr. Keller allowed him into one meeting because Maya allowed it. They sat in the clinic office again with charts spread across the desk. Maya wore a soft blue sweater that made her look younger and more breakable, though her eyes were not breakable at all. Dr. Keller explained the situation clearly. Her heart rhythm had become more unstable. Her blood pressure needed careful watching. Portland had the nearest hospital equipped for high-risk cardiac delivery. Ideally, she would transfer there closer to her due date. But pregnancy did not always respect plans. Cole listened without interrupting. Once when Dr. Keller mentioned air transport, Cole reached for his phone automatically. Maya looked at his hand. He stopped. Then he asked, May I make a call to arrange availability if Dr. Keller thinks it helps? Maya blinked. The room shifted around the question. Dr. Keller gave a slight nod. It helps. Maya looked down at her hands. Yes, one word. Permission. Cole stepped into the hall and made the call. His voice changed when speaking to the medical transport director. It became calm, precise, efficient. Not cruel, not threatening, but unmistakably powerful. He arranged standby access emergency clearance payment without delay and privacy protections. When he returned, Maya was watching him. What he asked quietly. "You still sound like him." Cole did not pretend not to understand. "I know. Does it feel good?" The honest answer took a moment. "Yes." Her face closed. He added, "And that scares me now." She looked back at him. "Good." Later that week, Maya let him attend an ultrasound. She did not invite him directly. Dr. Keller stepped into the waiting room where Cole sat with a paper cup of bad coffee cooling in his hand. "She said you can come in if you stay quiet." Cole stood too fast, then forced himself to slow down. Maya lay on the exam table, sweater lifted just enough to reveal the curve of her stomach. A paper sheet covered her hips. Her face was turned toward the screen, but Cole saw the tension in her jaw when he entered. He stayed near the wall. The room was dim. The machine hummed softly. Rain moved down the window in thin silver lines. Dr. Keller pressed the probe gently against Maya's stomach. A grainy image appeared. Cole stared. At first the shapes made no sense. Then movement flickered. A small arm, a curve of spine, a face turning as if toward the sound of their silence. "There she is," Dr. Keller said. Maya's eyes filled. Cole felt something inside his chest give way. He had seen men die. He had seen fortunes move. He had stood in rooms where decisions shaped entire neighborhoods. None of it had prepared him for the sight of a tiny hand opening and closing on a screen. "She's real," he whispered. Maya did not look at him. "She was real when you didn't know." Cole closed his eyes. "I know. No defense, no explanation. No speech about being busy, manipulated, misled, trained, damaged, powerful, afraid. Just 2 words." Maya turned her face slightly then, not enough to soften, enough to hear. The baby moved. Maya inhaled sharply. Cole stepped forward on instinct, then stopped himself. "Are you okay?" "Yes," she said. Then after a pause, "She kicks hard when I'm upset." Cole swallowed. "I'm sorry." Maya looked at the screen. "Don't apologize to me in here, not while she's listening." His throat tightened. "All right." So he stood in silence and watched his daughter move in the dark. When the appointment ended, Cole waited in the hallway while Maya cleaned up. Dr. Keller came out first. "She needs less stress." "I know, Mr. Harrington. You know it like a man who can buy a solution. I need you to know it like a man who can become one less problem." Cole nodded slowly. "I'm trying." Dr. Keller studied him. "I believe that." Cole looked up. The doctor's expression remained stern. "I also believe trying late does not erase damage. It doesn't." "Good." Dr. Keller walked away. Cole leaned against the wall and exhaled. Maya emerged a few minutes later. They walked outside together because the clinic was small and there was only one exit. The wind had calmed. The harbor lay under a low gray sky. Somewhere nearby, a bell rang from a buoy in the water. Maya stopped at the bottom of the ramp. Cole stopped too, leaving space. She looked at the street, not at him. "I used to imagine telling you." His chest tightened. "About the baby?" She nodded. "I had versions of it. Stupid ones, sweet ones. I thought maybe I'd put baby shoes in your desk drawer. Or maybe I'd tell you at dinner and you'd go quiet first because that's what you do. Then you'd smile. Not the public smile. The real one." Cole could see it. The life he had missed. The room, the candlelight, the blue box, her hope, sitting there with the meal he let grow cold. Maya continued. "Then it became less about surprising you and more about finding a moment when you wouldn't be angry that I needed one." Cole's hands curled at his sides. "I was never angry that you needed me." She turned to him then. "Yes, you were. Maybe not in words. But every time I interrupted something important, your face reminded me that I had misjudged my place." That landed with brutal clarity because he remembered the face. Not hers. His, the slight impatience, the controlled breath, the look that made men rush to fix mistakes and had made his wife shrink inside her own home. "I did that," he said. Maya nodded. "Yes." A truck passed slowly, tires hissing on wet pavement. Cole looked at her face, at the fatigue around her eyes, at the woman he had loved without honoring, protected, without knowing married, without truly seeing. I made you lonely in a house full of people, he said. I let my mother turn your pain into strategy. I called you weak because I was too cowardly to admit you scared me. Maya's brows drew together. I scared you, yes. How you made me want a life I couldn't control. The answer seemed to move through her slowly. For a second, the old Maya flickered there. The woman who might have reached for him. The woman who had once believed honesty could save them both. Then she looked away. That does not fix it, I know. Oh, then why say it because you deserve the truth without having to bleed for it? Her mouth trembled. She pressed her lips together until it stopped. I don't know what to do with you like this. Neither do I. That almost brought the smile back. Almost. Nora appeared at the diner door across the street, wiping her hands on a towel. Maya, soup's getting cold. Maya looked relieved. Cole stepped back. She crossed the street slowly. At the diner door, she paused and looked over her shoulder. Cole. His heart nearly stopped at the sound of his name. Yes, you can come in for coffee, not dinner. Coffee. It was a small permission, a paper-thin one. He treated it like a sacred thing. Inside the diner, Nora served him coffee with suspicion, and Maya sat 2 booths away eating chicken soup with crackers. They did not speak much. They did not need to. For the first time in months, they occupied the same room without performance, without chandeliers, without Evelyn, without men waiting for Cole's signal. Just rain on the windows, a spoon against a bowl, the soft murmur of townspeople pretending not to listen. Cole drank coffee that tasted burnt and bitter. It was the best thing he had tasted in weeks. That night, after Maya went upstairs, Cole walked back to the inn alone. Grant was gone. Boston had called him back, and Cole had let him go with one instruction. Protect the city from itself. Do not protect me from consequences. The streets were nearly empty. Harbor fog curled around porch lights. Somewhere music played softly from an open window. Cole passed the clinic, the pharmacy, the darkened hardware store. When he reached the inn, he stopped. Across the street above Nora's diner, one small window glowed. Maya's window. He did not cross toward it. He did not stand beneath it. He did not call. He sat instead on a bench near the harbor, far enough away to be useless unless she asked close enough to know the light was still on. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The light went out. Cole stayed. Sometime after midnight, the diner door opened. Maya stepped outside in a coat over her nightclothes, one hand pressed to her chest. Cole stood immediately. She saw him and did not look surprised. For a moment, neither of them moved. The wind pushed at her hair. Her face was pale in the streetlight. Are you in pain? He asked. Yes. His body wanted to move, to grab his phone, to lift her into his arms, to turn the quiet street into an emergency ruled by his fear. He held still. Do you want me to call Dr. Keller? Maya closed her eyes. A small nod. Cole made the call. No commands, no shouting, no threats, just the facts spoken clearly while Maya leaned against the diner wall and breathed through whatever her body was doing to her. When the call ended, Cole kept the phone in his hand. Can I stand closer? Maya opened her eyes. The question seemed to hurt her more than the pain for a second. Then she nodded again. Cole crossed the distance carefully and stopped beside her, not touching. Rain began to fall soft at first. Maya looked at his hand. Then she reached for it. Cole let her fingers close around his. He did not hold tighter than she asked. He did not speak. A few minutes later, Dr. Keller's truck turned the corner, headlights cutting through the fog. Nora came down behind Maya with a blanket, and fear written plainly across her face. Sheriff Lane pulled up soon after, still wearing a jacket over pajamas. Haven Point gathered around Maya without asking what she was worth. Cole stood among them with her hand in his and understood with a pain almost too large to bear that this little town had given his wife something his empire never had, a place where her life mattered before her name. By the time Dr. Keller finished examining Maya that night, the rain had become steady enough to turn the streetlights silver. Nora waited outside the clinic room with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, her lips moving in silent prayer. Sheriff Lane stood near the front door, arms folded, watching Cole the way a person watches the ocean after a bad forecast. Maya was stable. That was the word Dr. Keller used. Stable. Cole had once used that word for markets roots, alliances, and men who could still be trusted with a gun. He had never understood how fragile it sounded when placed beside a woman he loved. Doctor. Keller stepped into the hallway and closed the exam room door behind him. She's resting, he said. Cole stood so quickly the chair scraped backward. What happened? Chest pain, elevated pressure, stress response most likely. The baby's heartbeat is strong, but Maya needs rest. Real rest. Cole looked toward the closed door. Can I see her? Dr. Keller studied him. She asked for Nora. Cole nodded once, though something inside him bent under the answer. Then Nora should go. That surprised the doctor. It surprised Nora, too. She looked at Cole as if waiting for the demand hidden underneath the permission. There was none. Nora entered the room quietly. Cole remained in the hall. He stood there for nearly an hour, listening to the low murmur of Nora's voice through the door, the roll of thunder somewhere beyond the harbor, the old heater tapping in the corner. Sheriff Lane finally pushed away from the wall. You know you can sit down. Cole did not move. I'm fine. No, you're rich. Different thing. He looked at her. She shrugged. I've known a lot of men who think standing very still counts as strength. Cole glanced toward the room where Maya rested. I don't know what counts anymore. Good place to start. The sheriff walked to the coffee machine, poured 2 paper cups, and handed one to him. It was terrible coffee. Bitter thin, burned from sitting too long. Cole drank it anyway. The next morning, Haven Point woke under low clouds and the smell of wet wood. Maya did not go back to the apartment above Nora's diner right away. Dr. Keller wanted her close for observation, so Nora brought clean clothes, soup in a thermos, and 3 different kinds of crackers because she said pregnant women trusted crackers more than men. Cole stayed outside the clinic most of the day, not in the waiting room where Maya might feel watched, not in his SUV where it would look like surveillance. He sat on a bench across the street near the small war memorial coat collar turned up against the damp air, phone in hand, waiting for any word he was allowed to receive. By noon, half the town had passed him. Some stared openly, some pretended not to. A little boy in a red raincoat asked his mother why that man looked like he had lost something. The mother pulled him along without answering. Cole almost laughed. The child was the only honest person on the sidewalk. At 2, Dr. Keller crossed the street and stood beside the bench. She wants ginger tea. Cole looked up. From me. She didn't say that. Nora is busy. The pharmacy sells it. Cole stood. At the pharmacy, the woman behind the counter looked at his suit, then at his face, and pointed to aisle 3 before he spoke. He bought every box of ginger tea on the shelf. Then he returned to the clinic, stopped outside the door, looked down at the bag, and realized what he had done. Too much. Always too much. He took 1 box out, handed it to Dr. Keller, and left the rest in the car. Dr. Keller noticed. So did Maya. Later, when she sat in the clinic office with a blanket over her knees, she held the paper cup of tea in both hands and looked at him over the steam. You bought more than 1 box? Cole paused. Yes. How many? He did not want to lie. 12. For the first time in days, Maya laughed. It was small. It was tired. It ended quickly because laughing pulled at her chest. But it was real. Cole felt it strike him with almost physical force. Maya looked down into the tea. You're ridiculous. I know. You always think if something helps more of it helps more. I know that too. That isn't how people work. He sat across from her, leaving the small table between them. I'm learning. She lifted her eyes. That word is easy. Yes. What happens when learning hurts your pride? Cole looked at her for a long moment. I hope you keep making it hurt. The silence after that was not soft, but it was not empty either. It held something unfinished. Over the next several days, Cole became a strange fixture in Haven Point. He did not belong there, but he kept showing up. He carried boxes into the clinic when Dr. Keller's nurse strained her back. He fixed a broken porch step outside Nora's diner after hearing Maya mention that it made her nervous when it rained. He replaced the old lock on the back door, but only after Nora stood over him with both hands on her hips and told him exactly which lock she wanted, and exactly how little she cared for imported security systems. He learned the names of people who did not fear him. Earl the fisherman who drank coffee from 6 to 7 every morning and distrusted anyone with polished shoes. Tessa, the pharmacy clerk who rang up prenatal vitamins without comment but always slipped peppermint candies into Maya's bag. Calvin, the teenage dishwasher at Nora's diner, who asked Cole if he was in witness protection because nobody that tense came to Maine for fun. Cole did not become comfortable. That might have been too easy. But he became present. He sat in the diner and listened while people talked around him. He stopped reaching for his phone every time it buzzed. He stopped offering money before people asked for help. He stopped standing whenever Maya entered a room because she told him it made her feel like an event. One afternoon, she came downstairs from Nora's apartment wearing a soft green sweater, her hair loose, one hand at her back. Cole stood halfway from the booth out of reflex. Maya stopped on the stairs. Cole froze. Then slowly, carefully, he sat back down. Nora, from behind the counter, said, "Well, look at that. The man can be trained." Maya hid a smile. Cole looked down at his coffee, apparently. But Boston did not stay quiet simply because Cole had. The first warning came from Grant. Cole answered on the third buzz while standing outside the clinic under a gray sky. "Talk." Grant's voice was low. "Rourke moved on 2 of our north side accounts." Cole watched a gull circle over the harbor. "Let him." A pause. "Let him, I said what I said." "Cole, he's testing you. He's testing an empire I am dismantling. You have not dismantled it yet." Cole turned away from the clinic windows. "Then move faster." Grant swore under his breath. "You think the men understand this? You think they believe you just woke up one day and found religion in a fishing town? No. They think she has you controlled." Cole's eyes sharpened. "Do not call my wife. She like she is a problem." Grant went silent. Cole heard himself then. The old command in his tone, the instinctive threat. He closed his eyes. When he spoke again, his voice was lower. "What did Rourke take 2 laundering fronts and a warehouse route? No bodies yet, no retaliation. Cole, no retaliation unless civilians are at risk. That is not how this world reads restraint. I don't care how this world reads anymore." Grant's breath came hard through the line. "Evelyn is meeting people." Cole's hand tightened around the phone. "Who old families? Men who were loyal to your father before they were loyal to you. She's telling them you've abandoned the city for a woman who ran from your name." Cole looked through the clinic window. Maya sat inside with Dr. Keller's nurse, laughing faintly at something on a clipboard. "Pale, tired, alive." "She did run from my name," Cole said. "She had reason." Grant lowered his voice. "You need to come back." "No. Then give me authority to make moves. You have authority to protect people, not pride, not territory, not money. And if Rourke comes near her," Cole's eyes went flat. "That is different." Grant understood the tone. "So there is still a line, yes. What happens when he crosses it?" Cole looked at his reflection in the clinic glass. Behind the reflection, Maya looked up as if sensing his attention. He softened his face before she could see the violence in it. "I try not to become what she left." He ended the call. That evening, Evelyn came to Haven Point. She arrived in a black sedan just after sunset when the sky was purple over the water and the diner windows glowed warm against the cold. Cole saw the car from his room at the inn. He knew before the door opened. Some people entered a place by arriving. Evelyn entered by claiming. She stepped onto the sidewalk in a dark wool coat, pearls at her ears, hair pinned smooth despite the coastal wind. The driver remained by the car, eyes forward. Cole met her outside the inn. "Go home." Evelyn smiled faintly. "You look tired. You look unwelcome." Her eyes moved over him, taking in the wrinkled shirt, the unshaven jaw, the man stripped of polished rooms and obedient staff. "This town has made you rude." "No, my wife did that when she told the truth." Evelyn's mouth tightened. "Your wife has made you vulnerable. My wife made me aware I already was." A fishing truck rolled by spraying water from the curb. Evelyn glanced at it with distaste. "Men are circling Boston. Rourke is not the only one. The DeLuca brothers are asking questions. Your councilman is nervous. Half your lieutenants are wondering if Grant is the real authority now. You are letting a kingdom bleed because a frightened girl could not tolerate discomfort." Cole stepped close enough for his shadow to cover her. "Do not speak about Maya that way." Evelyn lifted her chin. "There he is." Cole understood then. She wanted him angry. She wanted the old reflex. She wanted proof that the man she made still existed and could be summoned. He stepped back. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Interesting. You came all this way to provoke me. I came to save what your father built. My father built a cage and you locked me inside it. He built survival. He built fear. You worshipped it after he died. For the first time, real anger cracked her face. You know nothing about what I survived. Cole's voice softened, and that seemed to wound her more. You're right. I was a child, but Maya is not responsible for what grief did to you. Evelyn looked toward the diner. Through the window, Maya sat at a corner table with Nora. She wore a loose sweater and had a bowl of soup in front of her. One hand rested on her stomach. Evelyn's gaze stayed there too long. Cole moved slightly, blocking her view. No, I have a right to speak to the mother of my grandchild. You lost that right. Rights are not yours to grant. With my family, they are. Evelyn looked back at him. Your family? The words carried poison. Cole did not flinch. Yes, Maya agreed to meet Evelyn the next morning, but not alone. Nora's diner was full of witnesses by design. Sheriff Lane sat at the counter with coffee. Dr. Keller occupied a booth near the window with paperwork he was not reading. Nora moved between tables like a general in an apron. Maya sat across from Evelyn in the back booth. Cole stood near the door until Maya looked at him. Sit, she said. There was no warmth in the word, but there was trust enough to ask. Cole sat at the next booth, close enough to hear, far enough not to speak for her. Evelyn removed her gloves with deliberate grace. You look unwell. Maya smiled without humor. Funny. Last time you saw me, I was just weak. Evelyn's eyes cooled. I said you were unsuited to the life my son leads. No. You said I would ruin him. If he continues this path, I may have been correct. Maya's hand tightened around her mug. Cole started to rise. Maya did not look at him. Sit down, Cole. He sat. Evelyn noticed. A flash of something passed over her face. Disbelief, perhaps, or fear. Maya leaned forward. You don't get to come here and pretend this is concern. You knew I was pregnant. You knew I was sick. You hid things from your own son because you thought my fear was inconvenient. I protected him. You protected his power. They are the same in our world. Then your world is sick. Evelyn's lips parted slightly. The diner seemed to quiet around them. Maya continued, voice low but steady. I loved him when he forgot how to be gentle. I defended him when people called him dangerous. I waited in rooms where I should have left. So do not sit there in your pearls and tell me I do not understand loyalty. Evelyn's face hardened, but her eyes flickered. You think love is enough because you have never buried a husband. Maya's expression changed. For a moment, even Cole felt the old wound under his mother's words. No, Maya said softly. I haven't. And I am sorry you did, but you buried him and then raised your son like he was next. Evelyn went still. Maya's voice trembled, but did not break. You taught him tenderness was a trap. You taught him guilt was weakness. You taught him that control was the only safe kind of love. Then you looked at me and saw the threat when all I ever wanted was for him to come home before it was too late. Evelyn looked toward Cole. He did not save her from the truth. He only watched the woman he had failed speak with more courage than anyone in his old world had ever shown. Evelyn stood. This town has made you all sentimental. Nora appeared beside the booth with a coffee pot. No, honey. It just made us decent. A sound moved through the diner. Not laughter exactly. Something warmer. Something that closed ranks around Maya. Evelyn looked at Cole one last time. When Boston collapses, do not expect mercy from the men you taught to fear you. Cole stood then. I no longer expect fear to hold what love should have protected. Evelyn's eyes filled with contempt, but beneath it was something lonelier. You are choosing her over your blood. Cole looked at Maya, then at the curve of her stomach. No, he said. I am choosing my blood before it becomes like us. Evelyn left without another word. The black sedan disappeared down the harbor road, but the damage she carried did not vanish with her. 2 nights later, the message came. Maya found it first. She had gone downstairs before dawn because she could not sleep. The baby had been restless all night, and her back ached in a deep, dragging way that made lying still impossible. Nora's diner was dark except for the light over the coffee machine. Outside, fog pressed against the windows. Maya opened the back door to breathe cold air. A black car sat in the alley. No plates, engine off, windows tinted. For 1 second she thought it was Cole's SUV. Then she saw the object on the back step. A baby rattle, silver wrapped in black ribbon. Maya could not move. The alley tilted slightly. Her hand flew to her stomach. Nora found her standing there moments later and called Cole before Maya found her voice. Cole arrived in less than 3 minutes. No coat, shirt untucked, hair damp from the fog. The old violence was in his eyes before he saw the rattle. Maya saw it and stepped back. That stopped him. Not the threat, not the car, not the insult. Her fear. Cole looked at her face, then forced himself to breathe. "Where is it?" Nora pointed. Sheriff Lane arrived as Cole crouched near the rattle without touching it. "Rourke," he said. The sheriff looked at him. "Name: Vincent Rourke. Boston operator. Ambitious. Cruel. Not subtle when he wants someone afraid." Maya's voice shook. "Why would he come here?" Cole stood slowly. "Because I left and men like him think love creates openings." Sheriff Lane looked at the car. "I can run the vehicle. It will be stolen. I said I can run it. I did not say I was new." Cole looked at her. Under different circumstances, he might have respected her sooner. Maya wrapped both arms around herself. What happens now? Every old answer rose inside Cole. Men, guns, retaliation. A message left so bloody no one else would dare breathe in Maya's direction. He looked at the rattle, then at Maya, then at the way Nora stood beside her, one hand on her back. "If you want, we move you somewhere safer for the day," he said. "Nora's house may be the sheriff's office, wherever you choose. I'll arrange protection at a distance. No one near your room unless you approve them." Maya stared at him. Even frightened, she heard the difference. "You're asking?" "Yes." The word seemed to break something open in her face, not trust exactly, but the possibility of it. Sheriff Lane bagged the rattle as evidence. Nora muttered something about men who threatened babies deserving to be fed to lobsters. Cole made calls from the sidewalk. He did not shout. He did not threaten where Maya could hear. He contacted Grant, then a federal agent who owed him nothing kind but owed him the truth. Then a private security team trained for observation rather than intimidation. Plain clothes, distance, no visible weapons. No interaction with Maya unless there was immediate danger. Grant wanted to send 10 armed men. Cole said no. Grant wanted Rourke picked up. Cole said no, not unless they could do it without bringing war to Haven Point. Grant went quiet. "You are fighting with one hand tied." Cole looked through the diner window where Maya sat with Nora wrapped in a blanket, pale but upright. "No," he said. "I'm learning which hand was hurting her." By afternoon, the town knew enough to be angry. Earl the fisherman parked his truck where he could see Nora's alley. Tessa from the pharmacy walked Maya's prescriptions over herself instead of letting anyone else handle them. Calvin the dishwasher offered to stay late and sleep in the stockroom with a baseball bat until Nora told him bravery did not make him bulletproof. Haven Point did not have Cole's money. It had something he had never owned. People who protected without needing to possess. That evening, Maya sat with Cole on the back porch of Nora's house. The sheriff had convinced her to stay there for the night because it sat farther from the road and had neighbors close enough to hear trouble. The porch smelled of rain pine and the chicken stew Nora had left warming in the kitchen. Maya had a blanket over her lap. Cole sat at the far end of the porch swing because she had chosen the distance. For a long time they listened to the trees. Finally Maya said, "I thought you would kill him." Cole looked down at his hands. "I wanted to, I know. That was the part that hurt." She knew him, not the polished man, not the public husband. She knew the blood under his manners. "I still might if he comes close enough," Cole said. Maya turned to him. He forced himself to keep going. "But I won't make that your burden unless there is no other way to keep you alive." Her eyes searched his face. "That is supposed to comfort me, no. It is supposed to be honest." The wind moved through the trees. Maya's hand slid over her stomach. She deserves better than men deciding violence around her and calling it love. Cole nodded. "She does, so do I." His voice went quiet. "Yes, you do." Maya looked away and he saw the shine in her eyes before she hid it. "Sometimes I hate that I still feel safe when you're near." Cole closed his eyes. "Maya, no, don't make it tender. I'm not saying it because I forgive you. I'm saying it because it makes me angry. My body remembers loving you before my mind can decide what you deserve. He absorbed the words because they were true and because she had earned the right to say them. I don't know how to make that easier, he said. Don't try to make it anything, just hear it, I hear it. She looked back at him. Do you? Yes. And do you hear that I am still afraid of you? The porch seemed to tilt beneath him. Yes. Not because I think you'll hit me. Not because I think you'll hurt the baby. Because you can become the whole room. Your fear becomes everyone's orders. Your love becomes a wall. Your guilt becomes something I have to manage. Cole stared at the dark yard. No enemy had ever described him with such precision. Maya continued, I cannot survive being loved like a territory again. He turned to her then. I don't want to love you that way. But you know how. Yes. The honesty sat between them. Then Cole said, teach me what to do when I start. Maya's face shifted. That is not my job, I know. It can't be my job to raise you into a husband while I'm trying to become a mother. I know, he said again. I have a therapist flying into Portland tomorrow. Maya blinked. What Cole looked almost uncomfortable. Dr. Patel gave me a name. Trauma specialist. Men with violent backgrounds, control issues, family systems. For several seconds Maya only stared. Then, despite herself, she laughed softly. You're going to therapy. Yes. Cole Harrington. Yes, with feelings. He gave her a look. I assume that is the general topic. She laughed again, then pressed a hand to her chest as the laugh turned into a wince. Cole leaned forward, stopping himself just short of reaching. Pain, no, just tired. You should go inside. Don't manage me. He sat back. Sorry. Maya watched him correct himself. Not perfectly, not gracefully, but immediately. That mattered more than any speech. The next morning, Cole made his choice in front of the men who needed to hear it. Grant had driven up from Boston before dawn with 2 trusted lieutenants. They met in an abandoned boat warehouse at the edge of town where old nets hung from rafters and the floor smelled of salt oil and rotting wood. Evelyn was not invited. She came anyway. Cole saw her standing near the loading door's black coat buttoned to her throat. Grant looked tense. The lieutenants looked worse. Cole stood in the center of the warehouse with the ocean wind pushing through cracked boards. I am ending the illegal operations tied to Harrington Control, he said. No one moved. Then one Lieutenant Miles let out a sharp breath. Boss! Cole looked at him. Shipping routes connected to narcotics are closed. Weapons storage is being turned over through intermediaries. Political accounts are cut off. Protection payments end. Any legitimate business stays clean or gets sold. Miles stared as if Cole had shot him. Grant's face was unreadable. Evelyn spoke from the doorway. You sound like a man confessing to priests who are not here. Cole did not turn. I am not confessing, I am cleaning the nursery. That made Grant look away. Evelyn walked farther in heels, clicking against the concrete. You dismantle this and you do not simply walk into sunlight. Men will come for what remains. Men will come for you. They will come for her. Cole turned then. They already did. And you think restraint will save you? No. I think becoming worse than them will cost me the only life I still want. Evelyn's eyes flashed. Your daughter will inherit ashes. My daughter will inherit a father who chose not to make her childhood a throne room full of ghosts. Grant finally spoke. This will create a vacuum. Then we control the collapse. Collapse is not controlled. Cole looked at him. Then we reduce the blast radius. Miles shook his head. Rourke won't stop. No, he won't. Then give the order. Cole stepped closer to him. If Rourke moves on Maya, or the baby we defend. If he moves on money, let him choke on it. I am done treating cash like blood and blood like weather. The men looked at one another. Something shifted. Not agreement. Not yet. But recognition. This was not grief talking. This was command wearing a different shape. Grant nodded once. I'll handle Boston. Evelyn looked at him sharply. You would follow him into ruin. Grant looked at her. I followed him through worse when we called it business. Evelyn's expression turned cold with betrayal. Cole walked past her toward the door. She caught his arm. For a moment she was not the queen of anything. She was simply his mother, fingers tight around his sleeve. Cole. He stopped. Her voice lowered. You think this woman can save you? She cannot. One day she will see all of you and she will leave again. Cole looked down at her hand, then gently removed it. She already saw all of me. That is why she left the first time. He walked out into the coastal wind. By late afternoon, the weather changed. The sky lowered over Haven Point until the clouds seemed to press against the rooftops. The radio at Nora's diner crackled with storm warnings. Heavy rain, coastal flooding, dangerous winds by nightfall. Roads toward Portland could close if the river rose over the bridge. Dr. Keller called Maya after the second warning. Cole was in the diner when her phone rang. Maya listened, one hand resting on the counter. Her face tightened. How soon Nora stopped wiping a table. Cole stood slowly. Maya nodded into the phone. I understand. She hung up. What did he say? Nora asked. Maya looked toward the windows where the first hard rain had begun to strike the glass. He wants me closer to Portland before the roads flood. Cole reached for his coat. Maya looked at him. He stopped. Do you want me to drive? He asked. The question was simple. It cost him more than anyone in the diner knew. Maya opened her mouth. Then her body went rigid. One hand flew to her stomach. The other gripped the counter. Nora dropped the towel. Maya's breath came sharp. Cole moved one step, then stopped when she squeezed her eyes shut. A dark line of fear passed through the room. Maya, he said quietly. Tell me what's happening. She looked down. Water spread across the floor at her feet. For a second, no one spoke. Then Maya lifted her eyes to Cole's. Her voice was barely more than air. She's coming. Thunder cracked over the harbor. Nora grabbed the phone. Cole stood in the middle of the diner with every old instinct screaming for control and every new lesson forcing him to stay gentle. Maya reached for him. This time he did not hesitate. He took her hand exactly as she offered it, no tighter, no more, and the storm swallowed the town around them. Maya's hand was cold in Cole's. That was the first thing he noticed, even before the thunder, even before Nora's voice cracked as she called Dr. Keller, even before Sheriff Lane's patrol lights swept red and blue across the diner windows. Cold fingers. A tight grip. A woman trying not to panic because panic would make her heart work harder. Cole lowered himself in front of her, one knee on the diner floor, the other bent beneath him. Rain beat against the glass behind her. Somewhere outside, wind dragged a trash can across the alley with a hollow metallic scream. Maya's face had gone pale, but her eyes stayed open, focused, fighting. Look at me, Cole said. She did. He wanted to say the old things, the useless things. You're fine. Nothing will happen. I won't let it. But she had asked him not to lie. So he swallowed every false comfort and gave her the only truth he had. I'm here. Her breath shook. That's not enough. I know. Another pain crossed her face. Her fingers crushed his. Cole let her. For once, he did not mistake being needed for being in charge. Nora rushed back with towels, her phone pressed between her shoulder and ear. Sam's on his way. Roads are flooding near the bridge. Sheriff's calling the ambulance. Maya closed her eyes. The baby's too early. Cole looked at Nora, then back to Maya. Dr. Keller has a plan. Maya gave a weak, frightened laugh. Plans break. Yes, Cole said. Then we make another one. Her eyes opened again. Don't become him. The words landed low in his chest. She did not mean a stranger. She meant the man from Boston. The man who turned fear into orders and love into locked doors. Cole nodded. I won't. The front door burst open. Sheriff Lane entered first, rain dripping from her jacket, followed by Dr. Keller carrying a medical bag and wearing the expression of a man who had already measured the odds and disliked every number. He knelt beside Maya. How far apart are the contractions? Nora answered, because Maya was breathing through another one. 4 minutes, maybe less. Dr. Keller checked her pulse, then her blood pressure. His face tightened in a way Cole did not miss. Cole's voice dropped. Say it. Dr. Keller looked at Maya. Not Cole. Your pressure is high. Your pulse is irregular. We need to move you now, Portland, Maya asked. Yes. Sheriff Lane shook rain from her sleeve. Road's half underwater already. Ambulance can try the inland route, but it'll take too long if the old bridge closes. Cole pulled out his phone. Every eye in the diner turned toward him. He looked only at Maya. There's a private medical helicopter stationed outside Portland. I arranged it. It can land at the school field if the wind allows. Maya's breathing turned shallow. Can they fly in this? They'll decide. Not me. That answer mattered. Dr. Keller stood. Call them. Cole did. His voice changed the moment the line connected. It became sharper, cleaner, carved from urgency. Not loud, never loud. Men like Cole did not need volume to move the world. He gave coordinates, weather conditions, patient status, cardiac risk, pregnancy stage, landing site options. Then he stopped and listened. Outside, thunder rolled over Haven Point like the sky splitting open. Cole's jaw tightened. How long? He listened again. No, you do not wait for the storm to clear. You assess the school field and you tell me if it's possible. Another pause. Then his eyes flicked to Dr. Keller. 20 minutes if they can lift. Maya winced. Cole crouched in front of her again. They can get you there. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm scared, I know. Don't tell me she'll be okay. His throat tightened. I won't. Don't tell me I'll be okay. He could barely get the words out. I won't. Another contraction hit. Maya bent forward, gasping, her forehead almost touching his shoulder. Cole stayed still until she chose to lean against him. Then he supported her, not holding too tight, not taking more than she gave. When the pain passed, she whispered, What can you tell me? Cole pressed his cheek against her hair for half a second, then pulled back so she could see his face. That I will stay as close as you let me. That every decision is still yours. That our daughter will not be born into fear if I have anything left to do with it. Maya stared at him through tears, and rain reflected on glass. Then she nodded. Okay. The ambulance reached the diner 7 minutes later. By then, half the town seemed to have gathered under umbrellas and raincoats. Earl stood near the curb with a flashlight. Tessa from the pharmacy carried extra blankets. Calvin held the diner door open with both hands and looked terrified enough to be brave. Haven Point did not scatter when danger came. It formed a line. The paramedics lifted Maya carefully onto the stretcher. Cole walked beside her, one hand near hers, but not touching until she reached. She did. He took her fingers. The ride to the school field lasted 6 minutes and felt like a lifetime. Sheriff Lane drove ahead, patrol lights carving through the rain. The ambulance rocked over flooded streets. Water sprayed high against the windows. Dr. Keller worked beside Maya, tracking her vitals with a grim focus that made Cole's skin go cold. Maya's breathing grew uneven. Cole, I'm here. If I pass out... No. Her eyes sharpened despite the pain. Listen, he forced himself to. If I pass out, you stay with her, Maya. You stay with her. His hand tightened, then loosened when he remembered. I will. And if I don't wake up, don't. If I don't wake up, you do not take her back to Boston. The ambulance jolted hard. A paramedic cursed under his breath. Maya's eyes held Cole's with frightening clarity. You raise her free. Cole bowed his head over her hand. The words tore him open. I don't know how to do this without you. Her voice softened. Then learn for her. The ambulance stopped. Wind hit them the moment the doors opened. The school football field was a blur of rain mud and red emergency lights. The helicopter hovered above it like a wounded animal fighting the storm, its blades chopping the air into violence. Water flew sideways. Paramedics shouted. Sheriff Lane ran ahead, one hand gripping her hat against the wind. Cole stayed with Maya until the stretcher reached the helicopter. A medic blocked him at the door. Doctor rides with her. No room for anyone else. For a second, Cole did not understand the sentence. No room. He had spent his life making room by force. At tables, in markets, in courtrooms, in men's throats if necessary. Now a stranger in a flight suit looked him in the eye and told him no. Cole's body went rigid. Maya saw it. Even in pain, even strapped to a stretcher in a storm, she saw him beginning to become the man she feared. Cole. Her voice cut through the rotor wash. He looked down. She shook her head once. Just once. Do not. He stepped back. The medic climbed in. Dr. Keller followed. Maya's hand slipped from Cole's. At the last second, she reached for him again. He caught her fingers. Rain ran down his face. Or maybe not rain. I love you, he said. Not as a demand, not as a weapon, not as a key to open a door she had locked. Just the truth finally arriving with nothing attached. Maya looked at him. Her lips trembled. I know. The helicopter door closed. Cole stood in the field as it lifted into the black sky, carrying his wife, his daughter, and every prayer he had never learned how to say. Then it was gone. The drive to Portland took almost 2 hours. Sheriff Lane drove because Cole's hands would not stop shaking. Nora sat in the back seat muttering half prayers and half threats against weathermen and poorly funded rural hospitals. Cole sat beside the sheriff, soaked through, staring ahead as rain battered the windshield. His phone buzzed constantly. Grant, Boston, unknown numbers. He silenced all of them except Dr. Keller's updates. At 9:42 p.m. arrived, going into surgery. At 9:57 p.m. cardiac team present. Baby distressed. At 10:11 p.m. emergency C-section. Cole read the words until they blurred. Sheriff Lane glanced at him. Breathe. He inhaled. It did not help. At the hospital, bright lights swallowed them. Everything smelled like antiseptic wet coats and fear. A nurse directed them to a waiting area outside the surgical floor. Cole gave his name and was told to wait. Wait. Again. The word had become a sentence. He stood at the desk, dripping rain onto the tile. I need to see my wife. The nurse looked up. You need to wait. Nora touched his arm. Cole. He closed his eyes. The old man inside him reached for threats, for names, for leverage, for the cold machinery of power. He opened his eyes and stepped back from the desk. All right. The nurse's expression softened by 1 degree. We'll update you as soon as we can. Cole nodded. He walked to the waiting room and sat down. For the first time in his adult life, Cole Harrington had nothing to do, no one to command, no enemy to strike, no price to pay, no door to force open. Only a clock on the wall, a row of plastic chairs, and the terrible knowledge that regret did not guarantee mercy. Grant arrived near midnight. His coat was wet, his face was drawn. He took in Cole's state without comment and sat beside him. Boston is handled. Cole stared at the floor. I don't care, I know. That's new for me. Grant leaned forward, elbows on knees. Rourke's men backed off after the federal heat moved. Evelyn's people are quiet for now. The accounts are being frozen. Some men are angry. Cole looked at him then. Let them be. Grant nodded. For a long time neither spoke. Then Grant said quietly, She's strong. Cole's jaw worked. She should not have had to be. At 12:36 a.m., a doctor came out wearing surgical scrubs and a mask pulled down under her chin. Cole stood. The world narrowed to her face. Mr. Harrington. Yes, I'm Dr. Reeves. Your daughter has been delivered. She's premature, but she's alive. The neonatal team has her in the NICU. Cole's hand closed over the back of the chair, and Dr. Reeves's expression changed. Not enough for anyone else to panic. Enough for Cole to die standing. Your wife suffered significant cardiac complications during delivery. Her heart rhythm became unstable twice. We were able to bring it back, but she is critical. She's being moved to the ICU. The words did not enter all at once. They came apart. Delivered. Alive. Live. Complications. Twice. Critical. Cole stared at the doctor. Can I see her? Not yet. His voice was raw. Can I see my daughter? Dr. Reeves nodded. A nurse will take you. The NICU was quieter than Cole expected. He thought it would be frantic, full of alarms and running feet. Instead, it was controlled, dim, and full of small, stubborn lives inside clear plastic walls. A nurse led him to an incubator near the middle row. There she is, she said softly. Cole stepped closer. His daughter was impossibly small. Dark hair lay damp against her head beneath a tiny pink cap. A breathing tube rested at her nose. Wires crossed her chest. Her fists were curled near her face, delicate and defiant. Cole placed his hand against the glass. The ring in his pocket pressed against his thigh like a memory. He had once believed legacy meant a name carved into buildings, fear carried across generations, men lowering their eyes when his child entered a room. Now he looked at his daughter and understood legacy could be a room without shouting, a house without locked emotional doors, a childhood where love did not arrive with conditions. The nurse checked a chart. Do you have a name? Cole did not look away from the baby. That is her mother's choice. The nurse smiled gently. Then we'll wait. Cole stayed there until his legs went numb. When he finally reached ICU, Maya was surrounded by machines. Nothing in his life had prepared him for the sight of her like that. She looked too still, too pale. A tube near her mouth, lines in her arms, monitors counting what his eyes could not trust. The room hummed and beeped with a mechanical patience that felt cruel. Cole approached the bed slowly. He did not touch her at first. Permission even now mattered. So he pulled a chair close and sat beside her. Her hand rested on the blanket bruised from IV lines. He placed his hand near hers, close enough that if she woke and wanted him, she could choose. "I saw her," he whispered. Maya did not move. "She's tiny. Angry, I think. She has your fight." The monitor kept its rhythm. Cole swallowed hard. "I told them you would name her. I didn't take that." His voice broke. "I'm trying, Maya." No response. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and for the first time since he was a boy standing beside his father's casket, Cole Harrington prayed. Not elegantly, not with words he trusted. Just one sentence repeated in the dark. "Take anything else." Maya woke 2 days later. Cole was asleep in the chair beside her bed, unshaven, still wearing clothes Nora had forced him to change into after telling him he smelled like rain hospital floor and guilt. There were no flowers filling the room, no guards at the door, no grand display, just one paper cup of cold coffee, Maya's medical chart, and Cole folded forward with exhaustion, his hand resting near hers but not touching. Maya watched him for a while. Her throat hurt. Her body felt foreign. Her chest ached deeply, as if every breath had to ask permission before entering. She tried to speak. Only a rasp came out. Cole woke instantly. His eyes opened, and for 1 second he looked lost. Then he saw her. Everything in his face broke. He did not grab her hand. He did not call for everyone at once. He leaned closer, careful and shaking. "Maya." Her lips moved. He bent nearer. "Is she alive?" Tears filled his eyes. "Yes." Maya closed her eyes. A tear slid into her hair. "Is she okay?" "She's fighting." "Good." Cole smiled through something that looked like grief. "She gets that from you." Maya looked at him then. Really looked. At the hollow cheeks, the red eyes, the restraint in his hands. He looked like a man who had been brought to the edge of every fear, and left there long enough to understand the view. "Did you hold her?" "No." Maya's brow tightened. "Why, I was waiting for you." Her eyes softened, then filled again. That was stupid. A weak laugh escaped him, almost a sob. "Probably." Maya closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, her voice was still thin but steady. "If we try again, it won't be in Boston." Cole nodded immediately. "Okay, you don't answer before you think." He stopped. Then he thought. Really thought. "No," he said, "not Boston. Your mother does not come near our child. She won't. No syndicate. I'm dismantling it. No blood money in her nursery. I understand. No teaching her that fear is respect." Cole's eyes lowered. "I would rather she never knows that lesson exists." Maya watched him. "I don't trust you yet. I know. I don't know if I forgive you. I know. I hate that part of me still loves you." His face tightened with pain, but he did not reach for comfort. "I will not use that against you. You did before." "Yes." That answer mattered because it did not dodge the wound. Maya looked toward the window. Morning light filtered through the blinds, pale and clean. "I want to see if I can believe you." Cole nodded. "That is more than I deserve." "Yes," Maya whispered. "It is." 3 days later, Maya was wheeled into the NICU. Cole walked beside the chair but did not push it until she looked up and gave a small nod. His hands closed around the handles gently, as if even the chair had boundaries. The nurse led them to the incubator. Maya saw her daughter and covered her mouth. The baby was small, smaller than dreams should be allowed to become. But she was alive. Her tiny chest rose and fell. Her fingers opened and closed like she was already arguing with the world. Maya placed one hand against the glass. Cole stood beside her, silent. For a long moment there was only the sound of machines and Maya's uneven breathing. "Hope," she said. Cole looked at her. Maya did not look away from the baby. "Her name is Hope Elise Harrington." Cole swallowed. "Hope. She came when everything was breaking, and Elise, my mother's middle name," Maya said. "I want her to inherit something gentle." Cole nodded. "Then she will." Maya turned her head slightly. "You don't get to promise that like it's easy." "No," Cole said. "I promise it like it is work." That answer stayed with her. 1 year later, Haven Point had learned to stop staring every time Cole Harrington walked down Main Street with a baby strapped to his chest. Mostly. Earl still made comments about the shoes, though Cole had traded most of them for boots. Tessa still slipped peppermint candies into Maya's pharmacy bags. Calvin still asked questions no one else dared ask, including whether Cole had ever actually punched someone through a window. Nora's diner had a new espresso machine that Cole had installed badly the first time, and correctly the second after Nora made him read the instructions instead of paying someone. Maya laughed more now. Not all the time. Not like nothing had happened. Some days her body hurt. Some nights she woke from dreams of rain elevators and empty hospital chairs. Some arguments still cut too close to old wounds. Trust returned like a tide, not a miracle. It came in, pulled back, came in again. Cole went to therapy in Portland every Thursday. He hated it less than he claimed. The Harrington empire did not vanish cleanly. There were lawsuits, investigations, frozen accounts, enemies who circled, and men who spat his name like betrayal. Grant stayed in Boston long enough to turn the legal pieces over to people who could manage them without blood. Evelyn remained far away, though sometimes letters arrived in careful handwriting and went unopened on Cole's desk until Maya decided what to do with them. Hope grew. Small at first, then fierce. She had Maya's eyes and Cole's serious stare, which made Nora declare the child was either going to run the country or rob it politely. On a clear morning in late spring, Cole stood behind the diner counter with Hope in a high chair beside him, banging a spoon against the tray like she was calling a meeting to order. Maya sat near the window watching them. Cole was trying to fix the espresso machine again. "It's making that noise because you keep forcing it," Maya said. Cole paused, looked at the machine, looked at her, then took his hands off it. Nora, passing behind him with plates, said, "Progress." Maya smiled. Cole saw it and went still for half a second, the way he always did when her happiness caught him unprepared. Later that evening, they walked along the harbor. The air smelled of salt and sun-warmed wood. Hope slept against Cole's chest, her tiny fist curled in his shirt. Maya walked beside him with her coat open and the wind lifting her hair. Around her neck on a thin chain hung the wedding ring. She had not put it back on her finger. Cole had never asked. They stopped near the water where the boats rocked gently against their ropes. Maya looked out at the horizon. "Do you miss it?" Cole followed her gaze. "The power." She nodded. He was quiet long enough for the answer to become honest. "No." Maya looked at him. Cole touched Hope's back gently. "I miss who I might have been if I had chosen this sooner." The wind moved between them. Maya reached for his hand. Cole let her take it. He did not tighten his grip. He did not pull her closer. He simply stood there, holding only what was freely given, while the harbor carried the last light of day across the water.